Oh. We're discussing our esteemed visitor, Brooklyn Borough President. So.
Borough, it's actually the only inner borough because it's the only borough from which you have to go through another borough to leave the city of New York. So it's the innermost borough.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Good. I like everyone's fight for Brooklyn.
Yeah. Right.
So we may have to share, but
You got a couple for yourself, or you just?
I've got one in here.
Okay.
If you just the next slide.
All right, well.
Well, unless you need us to go around or you know who PCA's, the New York City Transit Riders Council is.
I know the writers. Learn a little bit about you guys. If there is an opportunity for introduction, at least know where you're from would be great. Yeah.
Andrew, do you want to?
Council consists of, if we have all appointees, up to 15 people who really care about the transit system. Obviously, and elsewhere. And I was born in Brooklyn, so very proud to be with you today. I'm very familiar with what's going on in the subways and everything, and have reported many issues, and it's going to get the changes that are brought to us on the Nostrand interlocking and what that's going to mean. Of the, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So stay tuned for that one.
So one thing that Andrew neglected to mention is Rider Council rep on the MTA board.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes, great.
very important.
Thank you.
He has a voice but no vote at the moment. We're working on it. Executive Director of CAC, which is we're staff to the councils, and we are
At the groundbreaking of the IBX, which is a very, very exciting transit project that's going to make travel for Brooklynites and Queens through Manhattan. Obviously, the G, the J, the M, and the A go from Brooklyn to Queens without going through Manhattan. But this will be a great service to Brooklyn. This will give you so many connections, so it's going to be great.
I also like to thank you for letting us use our time to time on how people get around. Yes, and Kara.
Yes, I'm PCAC's Planning and Advocacy Manager. My name is Kara Girl, lifelong Brooklynite, born and raised.
Hi, I'm Jessica Spezio, also a Brooklynite, Express Bus rider. I was a former New York City Transit.
Thank you.
I'm Sharon Hogue. I was appointed by the public advocate. I live in Manhattan and I live where a whole bunch of.
And she does.
Where is that?
58th and Park.
Okay.
So I'm right by it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Fred Chung,
Goldstein, I'm a Brooklyn resident. I'm serving on the board since 2009, a mayoral nominee appointed by the governor.
public advocate's office. And you know me, Tony, I'm Christopher D. Grive, you're appointed. Beach officer and Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force.
Go. Dante Unwind, board member, Brooklyn, mayoral appointee.
Hello, I'm Benji, intern with PCAC, and Vice President.
Okay.
Great. And we're being joined by.
Of course, let's still.
Okay, hi, this is Trudy Mason again. I don't know if you can hear me because you keep on fading in and out. But Borough President Reynoso, I think we know each other, but I am also the Manhattan representative to the Transit Riders Council and the PCAC, and have been appointed by the four different Manhattan borough presidents. And before that, I was Director of Public Affairs and Government Community Relations under Dick Ravitch. So I have a long history. And now I will get off again. And I'm sorry that I interrupted, but I'm waiting for
It's not
call.
bad.
And I think you know Dr. Bronzeft, who has just died. Yeah, so. Okay.
Bert?
Hi, I'm Burton Strauss. I'm Vice Chairman of the PCA, of the Transit Riders Council. I'm a mayoral appointee by Mayor Bloomberg, going back that far. And I am still unfortunately housebound following back surgery, and the weather doesn't help.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Marisol?
Hi, I'm Marisol Halpern. I am representing the Bronx. I've been on the Transit Riders since Freddie Ferrer, and I think we've met recently or within the last year, at an event with Ruben Diaz, so nice to see you again.
Good to see you too, Mike.
Thank you.
We have to switch our audio because we're
Okay,
having.
we're gonna switch our audio, just, okay. Hold on, Cicely.
£5. Followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue.
Press pound.
385.
In the meeting now, there are 7 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, can you all hear us?
Yeah, I think so.
I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you so much. Sorry, everyone.
Cicely, we're just doing a brief intro of members.
Sorry.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm Cicely Harris. I am actually on my way to the Manhattan Community Board 10 office now, so I will be logging on there soon. But good afternoon to everyone.
Jack, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, sorry, the audio is a little fuzzy. My name's Jack. I'm the Research and Communications Associate at PCAC, and I have a cold.
Therefore, he's Spanish.
Yeah, that's good.
To Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Not in Albany for once?
What's that?
He's not in Albany?
He was in Albany 2 days ago, and that's where he brought back that whatever.
He has an Albany cold.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Kalia.
How can you forget?
Oh, you just did the
I'm
husky.
sorry. That's Brooklyn.
All right,
Hello,
awesome.
Mr. President. My name is Kalia Hazlett. I was appointed by the mayor, and obviously we are familiar with each other because I'm a Brooklynite and a wheelchair in New York that you remember.
Yeah. We love it. Your frequent visits to Borough Hall are a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun. This is great, so I'm so happy to meet everyone here. Britt and I were in the elevator, and we were talking about a reporter that was downstairs on bus contracts. They tried to catch me before this meeting, so we talked about bus contracts. And he saw our comprehensive plan book, and he went through it, and he was excited. And we always say, this is a very nerdy thing to do. And a lot of people don't see it as like, oh, what are your accomplishments? What are your, it's like, well, we've done a comprehensive plan for Brooklyn that's meaningful. And to have a reporter, he absolutely loved it. He was like, we need to do something about this. It was from Channel 11.
Greg
611.
Oh, Greg, okay.
Oh, Mark.
Oh, yeah, he gets it.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
we're happy to, and we said we're gonna be happy to be in a room full of nerds, and to speak on these issues. And it's just,
It's a compliment.
it is a compliment, yeah.
Good news.
When I was 25 years old, I went to a young person's like transit, council meeting. And I met Enrique Peñalosa in that meeting. He was the mayor of Bogota, Colombia. And he did bold things. He was the first one. He towed every single vehicle that was on a sidewalk. He gave everybody like a 2-week warning. Like if it's on a sidewalk, it will be towed. Cars were used to park parallel, not parallel, they used to park vertically. He said, if you don't park parallel, we'll be towing your car as well. Nobody believed any of this stuff. And he did it. He got thousands of cars off the road on a regular basis. It really shocked the system. The car culture was so deep that people couldn't comprehend vehicles not being on sidewalks. It was so normal that they just parked right on the sidewalk. And he also changed the budget, the timing of budget in Bogota, Colombia, where sidewalks and pedestrian spaces get built first and roads get built second. Everywhere else, especially in New York City, an example of that is that you'll see a brand new roadway get fixed, and then maybe they'll start working on curb cuts and they'll do things like that. In Colombia, you would see the people walking on a brand new plaza or a sidewalk with a road that looks like a dirt road in Colombia, because that's the last priority, is we do work for cars. We take care of people and bikes first, and then we go on to vehicles. And he also talked about just vehicles in general and why bikes were so important for him. He thought it was a status issue, that in Colombia, people bought cars as status symbols and to show their wealth or like classes, their higher classism. And he wanted to demystify it. He wanted to get rid of it. He said, you could be on $1 million car, and if you're in a $5,000 car, there's a big disparity, and it's very visible. But $1 million bike and a $500 bike, it's going to be hard for you to really notice big differences. It's just two wheels and pieces of metal. So he really pushed for people to start building like equity and changing the mindset of classism through vehicles. He also did two protected bus routes through the city. And the mandatory part, it was 90 miles an hour was the slowest the buses were allowed to go. He really wanted to show people that were sitting in cars in traffic in Bogota, Colombia, this flash go by them. It's like, what was that? That was a bus. But it was protected through concrete. It was protected by concrete barriers. It was a 4-lane highway, 3 lanes for vehicles, and then he took the middle lanes for 2 buses that go back and forth. And people started leaving their cars when they saw that they can get to wherever they needed to get to in a fraction of the time that the car used to take them. I sold my car maybe 6 months after that. I used to have a nice little car. I loved my car. It was like a sports vehicle. I sold it and used those funds to devise the foundation for my run for city council. And I was gonna go in as like a transit advocate, and I wanted to be on the transportation committee, and I was gonna just like raise hell. I was just like, we're gonna change this car culture. And Carlos Menchaca and I were the first Streets PAC endorsed candidates that were on the transportation committee. And it was the first time we were asking questions that was boggling everybody's mind. Is there gonna be parking was never the first question that came out of our mouth. It is what everyone else did, but not us. We always asked about pedestrians, we talked about public transportation and so forth. So he really set forth like from 24, 25 years old, my transportation policy came from the ideology of Enrique Peñalosa. And then I became a crazy transit person. Then I got elected to city council, where we did outdoor dining. It's an example of my how much I dislike parking, or the culture of parking. I don't dislike parking, I dislike the culture of parking, the privilege that people have. Outdoor dining was just an attempt to showcase to people that these spots actually belong to the city of New York. They belong to us. And on occasion, if we want to use them for something outside of parking, that we have that authority. It's just, again, it's just to build culture. It's not saying we want to take all your parking spots. It's just letting you know, why is it these 2 parking spots here for a car share? Why are these here for city bike? And so forth. It's like, yeah, we can do that. And it started changing the way people think about parking spots as a privilege, not a right. And that's something I fight for. Then I became a borough president, and we built this comprehensive plan, of which a big part of it was the transportation portion of what we want to do in the city of New York. We have huge transit deserts. We have opportunity index that we're going to talk about. And I wanted to give Britt just a quick opportunity to go through a portion of the comprehensive plan that speaks to transit, because I really want to get into a conversation with you all. I would love to talk about really get into policy and ideology, but really want to make sure that the time I spend here is valuable for you and that you get everything you need from me related to any of these issues, so that in the future we could work together or be more aligned on issues. I do want to give Britt some time. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background that my time as a transportation advocate is not just something I read about, and I actually live it. I got here in train. The J train is a big problem. I take my primary means of transportation is vehicles and city bike. That's how I get around, or my own personal bike. Public transit, city bike, and bike. I don't use the vehicle. I do have a government vehicle that I use. I have no driver right now, so we're trying to hire a new driver because Brooklyn is large and sometimes vehicle is the best way to get around. My primary modes of transportation is the G train every single day to Hoyt-Skidmore from Williamsburg. So I want to thank you guys for letting me be here. I want Britt to attack this presentation, and then we'll get into a conversation and have a lot of fun.
By the way, let me just tell you, the G train, which had all of its work done for CBTC installation, the installation of that is delayed now because they're converting to 5G. So that's going to delay the actual benefit of CBTC on the G line, and that's going to be put on all of the other CBTC lines too. It's going to make it much more smooth, but it has to be installed, and the trains have to receive that too. So just want you to know that.
That's good to know. I didn't know that. My favorite train, the G line, is my favorite line.
It's had a lot of GOs lately because of all the work going on. You know, not stopping at 4th Avenue and not stuff yet. Yeah, you know about it. So.
Great, thanks. Yeah, as VP mentioned, eager to get to conversation. So we're going to go through this pretty breezily, but I think everyone or a lot of people have this printout. So feel free to dig into it, and we can talk about more detailed things as the discussion part, even though this might be a little brief as we get through that. So, VP gave some introduction to the comp plan. Go next. So again, part of the reason we're making the comp plan, Brooklyn is growing. It's already recovered from COVID, the population decline in COVID, and it's projected to add even more people over the next decade. Next slide. But it's also growing economically, but unevenly. We see a big disparity in household incomes. Next slide. This is further shown by the Gini coefficient rising. This is a measure of inequality. The higher the number, the more unequal society is. Next slide. And of course, we know that climate change is a lurking threat as average temperatures continue to rise. So why a comprehensive plan? Part of the reason is that New York City has a lot of work and planning work that actually does happen. There's a litany of plans, but they are not always talking to each other and coordinated with each other and are developed in planning silos. Next slide. So one example of this is transit is a great example of this, that the MTA is the main or one of the main entities for planning transit service and expansion, but it doesn't have planning for housing and density under its purview. By contrast, the Department of City Planning updates zoning and does a lot of neighborhood plans, but it does not plan transit. So you have a situation where the MTA does something like the 20-year needs assessment and evaluate the transit expansion, but it is limited to imagining an area with what exists today and does not imagine land use scenarios. DCP, meanwhile, will do a neighborhood plan, but if they're thinking about adding more development or density in an area, they're stuck saying, well, the MTA takes care of transit. We don't do that. This comprehensive plan is an effort, is it tried to be a proof of concept, and it's an advisory document, but it's a proof of concept, a demonstration to the City of New York that these things can be better coordinated with one another and be in concert with another. Next slide. So this pattern of being stuck in these two silos is not actually like historically how Brooklyn and the city developed. Historically, often the transit lines extended first and neighborhoods followed. So this plan affirms that we need to recommit ourselves to a transit-oriented development as our borough's growth strategy to break out of these silos. So next slide. The way that we do this is that this new version of the plan has two big sort of components at a high level, and that the framework chapter is a new 100-page chapter where we sort of outline theory, so to speak, the analysis of what the plan understands transit-oriented development to be and how that spatially looks in the borough. Next slide. The elements then are the more specific issue-specific strategies, actions, and recommendations, and that is what you have printed out in front of you is the transit and freight element. There's also a public realm element and housing element that may be of interest, but today we're just going to touch on some examples in the transit and freight element. Next slide. So the framework. Here are a few tools and analyses that inform how the plan thinks about TOD. One is that one big new thing in the plan is the Access to Opportunity Index. This is something that looks to define parts of the borough across 5 different areas that determine a given resident's access to opportunity. And we wanted to highlight that transit and transit access is one of these 5 factors, and it's fundamental to how this plan understands someone's access to opportunity. Slide. So this is ultimately, when you put all of these 5 factors together, this is what the access to opportunity map looks like. Darker green means more, lighter means less. Slide. And this is an example of how we can apply this concept in sort of capital projects and transit planning discussions. This gives a lens to show that the proposed IBX route, for instance, would provide more transit access to areas of the borough that score lower in access to opportunity. Right? But we want to get more detailed and develop an understanding of a TOD. So the starting place we started here was the TOD index, which defines and rates every station in the borough according to these 4 factors. Next slide. And this produced sort of an interesting result where we have 4 different tiers of station that have different levels of TOD index, TOD performance, and then we also have a type of industrial station where a significant amount of industrial activity is near these stations. Each of these points we could zoom in and provide an analysis and go line by line, but for this document we really stayed at a higher level to note some patterns. Next slide. So, you can see some patterns that may not be surprising to folks here, that, there's this sort of radial pattern from northwest outwards that shows different TOD performance. But then also notably, there's these exceptions to the rule. You have Brighton Beach, Sunset Park, Broadway Junction. Next slide. So we generalized these sort of patterns into what we call pattern areas that kind of define the 3 different types of transit access in Brooklyn. And then we also defined the areas that are away from the subway, but near SBS service is sort of its own type of transit area, recognizing that SBS and buses are indeed transit as well. Slide. And then we see that, these areas are flexible. They're subject to change. For instance, Western Bushwick has pretty high TOD scores, thanks in part to the CBT improvements that have been put on the L train for other trains. Maybe it deserves to be in the pattern area 1 instead of pattern area 2. Conversely, we see pretty low scores near the future IBX line, but the rail line is there already, so that's why we considered it as part of this middle group rather than the outer group. Next slide. And one reason we think that it's important to have these groupings is that it helps the city and the borough conceptualize how transit expansions would change the map, so to speak. That a Utica Avenue extension would essentially close the gap, for example, of that second or middle tier. 3-train extension to the Livonia Yard would represent an expansion of the outer tier. Next slide.
Britt,
yes.
Since you're going to cover a lot of stuff, can I just say something about what you just said about Utica Avenue?
There's going to be more Utica Avenue. I know we might get to discussion. So yeah, I think
we're almost done here.
Yeah. Then this is one level deeper. We're not gonna get stuck in the details here, but this is the urban design typology that adds different, like, goes more into the weeds of trying to define different place types in the borough. And the reason that this is important is that it allows us to conceptualize what kinds of places transit investments expansions would connect to in a way that is not currently being done by planning documents. Next slide. And then another part of the plan is really emphasizing our freight networks, and particularly our rail freight network. And the Bay Ridge branch is, of course, a very significant part of that. Next slide. So walking through some specific examples in the transit and freight element we have, there are 5 objectives that outline how to improve and advance transit and freight in the borough. Next slide. Focusing, for instance, on the Interborough Express, something that we mentioned, this is an example of how the plan conceptualizes how the Interborough Express connects with different types of places across Brooklyn. This gives, really serves to emphasize the importance of how the IBX connects 2 very important places in the borough, Broadway Junction and Sunset Park. It also emphasizes the importance in really investing in adequate and good station connections at these stations, making sure we're not just opening station and having the entrance go to an inaccessible corner of that area. And then next slide. The next slide as well. We also discussed something that Andrew mentioned as well, the nose-turned interlocking is an example of how we can make some investments that really unlock capacity that improves service across the borough. Next slide. As well as really picking up opportunities to improve connections between stations. These are things that sort of fall through the cracks, such as the G train and J train overlapping in South Williamsburg, or improving a connection between the A division and B division in Atlantic Terminal. Next slide. And then I think we can breeze through these just to give a high-level glimpse at like some of the major expansions. Go to the next slide. This is how we conceptualize the Utica Avenue extension. This is an example, I think the key example of like the planning, housing, and transit being disconnected with each other. Next slide. This is how we conceptualize a 3-chain extension to Livonia Yard and compare it against the 20-year needs assessment by the MTA. And this is a proposed connection of the shuttle, Franklin Avenue shuttle to the G train that really emphasizes crosstown connections in the similar spirit of the IBX. I think that's our last slide for there. As I said, intentionally very high level because we want to get to discussion, and there are more details in the packet that we passed out here, and I've got a copy here, but I'll turn it back over to you, VP.
Yeah, and then the last thing is that the comprehensive plan is an organic document. It's always growing. While the physical form will be, this is the 2025 version on the physical form, on our website is where it lives. And as we get new information, we add more things to it. So we just had a conversation with like New York Railway, New York Atlantic Railway, and they're going to be assisting us. We're going to be sitting with them to expand details of the information and the data that we have on the freight side of the work that we're doing. So we're about to talk to you guys and the MTA, so we'll modify that part as well. But the point being is that our comprehensive plan, I hope you see that the quality of the work that we've done there. This is not just a couple of people hanging out trying to do this. This is a extensive 2-year document that was put together by experts from all ranges, working with the American Medical Association and planning associations all over, and our amazing staff put it together. This is, I would argue, even more comprehensive than the Plan NYC that was put together by Bloomberg, which is like the closest thing we ever got to a comprehensive plan in the city of New York. So kudos to him for that. Ours there would have to be 5 of these types of books, which Plan NYC isn't as expensive. 5 of these for all boroughs. But another thing I want to leave with is the city of New York needs a comprehensive plan. It's ridiculous that we don't have one. And DCP is the arbiter of no one fights harder to not get a comprehensive plan together than the Department of City Planning. It's unbelievable that happens. And what I wanted to show is that with 5 staff members committed in collaboration with organizations, we did something meaningful. And that with the amount of staff they have, the amount of resources they have, for them to not even consider doing this and being a planning agency is absurd. Absurd. They should be chomping at the bit to do a comprehensive plan. so we could bring people together and make this happen. So I want to say thank you for allowing me to make that presentation. I really want to open it up now to have a discussion. And then we're gonna I'm gonna interrupt the discussion because then we want to talk about freight and the IBX, and really want to have a conversation with you all about what we see that is not happening, that I think you guys should be paying attention, or you probably are paying attention to it, so that we can get into a conversation about that. Thank you for allowing us to make that presentation.
I'd just like to say thank you for incorporating so many, things that we've, discussed. I love opening it and saying PCAC. So thank you.
Yeah, I know that you wanted to ask a question before we finish.
No, I wanted to say, you may remember Tom Prendergast, who was MTA chair and now is with Gateway. Hopefully Gateway will continue in spite of the, threats from the president. He and I agreed on one thing, which was the Utica Avenue extension is not a great idea, because the work that would have to happen there would interrupt service to Lots Avenue all the way to Atlantic Terminal probably. A much better idea, which would serve almost the exact same places, would be to extend the train from Flatbush and Nostrand down Flatbush, which would serve a lot of those same eastern Brooklyn neighborhoods that are transit deserts. And in fact, you could extend it to Kings Plaza, and it would be a hell of a busy line. So that's just something to consider.
Great, that's great. We love that. We love that information. Absolutely.
And by extending the Flatbush Avenue Nostrand thing, you're just extending it, so you're not interrupting the service along the entire route.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, and again, so very commendable plan. And I'm curious as to how often this will be updated. One thing I didn't notice, I do notice that you're proposing to extend the Long Island Railroad, which I think is definitely much needed. I'm curious about the southeastern part of Brooklyn going into Queens. I mean, we all know the amount of traffic that's on the Belt Parkway. I live in southeast Queens, and, you know, after living in Brooklyn, and my mother wanted to move east to get, you know, more room, more space. It would be so much easier for my commute if I could just kind of take a train along that line and go to Brooklyn or go into Manhattan that way. And I see a lot of the plans are more for the west and for the north. And the same way that you talked about not being in a silo when you create these plans, it would almost make sense that you are coordinating with Queens for that portion, because I feel that that can be a game changer. There's so many communities along Canarsie, and then you're going into South Ozone, and that whole corridor. If there was a train along there, people going to the beach and just different attractions along there, and I would like to see more attention given, because I feel like because it's not considered a sexy area, it doesn't get that attention. But that really, I hope will be considered in future iterations of.
I just went to London with RTA, and we were seeing their ability. They have an Elizabeth line that they just created in 13 years.
What? I'm sorry?
13 years, they created an entire line.
An east-west line, yeah.
It was mind-boggling. Like I tell folks all the time, this New York exceptionalism is all a paper tiger and an insular bubble that we are in. If we go anywhere else, our power comes from our diversity and the fact that we built a great system in the city of New York. Outside of those two things, everyone else is eating our lunch. Whether it's China, whether it's Toronto, whether it's London, they're building faster and less expensive. They're bolder. They got the Thames Mead line that they're about to extend. They're about to add 2 more train stops, extensions to an area that's mostly like I want to say like a swamp for all intents and purposes. And they want to redevelop it. And they know that the only way to do it is to add access to transportation. So they have the transportation plan already in motion long before they do a rezoning of that area. But the reality of London doesn't exist here in New York City at all. When we're talking about these extensions, the IBX is like a godsend. It was really put in their laps, and just the infrastructure that already exists, being able to build a parallel line really puts us in a position where we can do things that are going to look great, not because we're creative or thoughtful, but just because infrastructure of the past is going to save us. But when we talk about new lines, new extensions, new infrastructure, potential tunneling and so forth, those are just unrealistic, right now, unrealistic settings that we didn't want to put in the comprehensive plan because we do want this document to live for the next like 50 years. We want is achievable goals that we're not lying to anyone. I don't want to go back to this and come hang out over here in 30 years. Like, you talked about this line. It's like, yeah, that wasn't real. We want things people can touch, but they're going to see that it's real. The Utica line, I'm excited to talk about Flatbush now, but the Utica line is something that we think is a modest, the impact of it is significant for Brooklyn, but it's something that we actually think is achievable. But when we look at what's happening in the Second Avenue subway line and so forth, we just don't want, like a $10 billion project to expand service to 3 stops is something that is just not realistic. So we just want to be thoughtful about that, because now you're talking about potentially expanding transit service to the southeast. And there's 2 issues with that. One is how realistic it is, but 2 is just the population of people that live in the southeast are very insular community folks. Those community boards and then around those areas don't want anything to change. They don't want expansion and growth. They don't want transit access. They love their cars. And trust me, I'm out here fighting, and I go to these community boards, and I speak the truth. I tell them how I feel. And Mill Basin,
Bergen Beach,
Bergen Beach, they don't even want me to talk about a potential expansion of a bus or express bus. They're like, no, we want no one coming in here, and we want no one coming out. If we could succeed for Brooklyn, if we could succeed for Brooklyn, we would do that. Is their style. So I just want to say there has to be some political will within a community to want those things, or we end up doing something that they're going to claim as a victory, which is like, no one listens to us, no one cares about us, because you're going to add a train line even though we don't want one, is what they will say. And I think unless you have the political will, that's not going to happen. And right now, I tell you that maybe I want to be honest, maybe with Zohran Mamdani, but outside of that, there's no political will to impose transit access to communities that don't want it.
And I would say that sometimes you have to put things to will it. So like, comprehensive plans could be to the future. So if you think about Arlington, Virginia, and their train station, that was from the 60s and buying land, and someone had that vision, and political will can change over time. And so, there's a way of saying these are areas of concern. We see that there's a need, because as much as there are people there that don't want it, there are people, and they may be less vocal. You have the vocal majority, but there's definitely, if you think like ozone, like all of that there, they all have to go north to Woodhaven, they have to go north, and the time spent traveling on a busway.
Yeah. I'm going to invite you, I would love for you to come to me I just want you to go to 2 community boards with me. And I'm going to have the lightest conversation about transit. We won't even talk about anything significant. And after you leave that room, we'll have a conversation on what you think about it.
I will send that invitation.
All right? And I would say this, but I agree with you that sometimes, like, people can't see it. But it's different than not seeing it and absolutely not wanting it. We talked about like a ferry expansion in Canarsie, for example, and it was initially, vehemently, they were like against it. I think now the voices are coming out now for it in a positive way that I think has changed the dynamics. That's changed. In 10 years, it went from absolutely not to like, what is happening? Why don't we have it? So I do think there are moments when we see light and introducing it to people is the right way. But in those specific areas, in some of these areas, very difficult thing to do. But I agree with you, just showing people, taking a shot. But I want to be, I guess what I want to say is I don't want to discredit this plan, but then people will use it against us. Instead of using it as a future type of document with potential, they'll want to see it as something that's real. And it's like, oh, look at what they're doing. They're destroying our neighborhood. They're coming for us. We don't want to have those conversations necessarily.
Thank you for your response.
Absolutely.
I have a question. In your plan, how much did you consider accessibility? It's really, really important, not just as a Brooklynite and a resident of Williamsburg, as a person who teaches people, New Yorkers with disabilities, how to navigate mass transit. How much did you consider accessibility and our access as New Yorkers with disabilities to this plan?
Everything. So there's an accessibility portion in every single one of our aspects of everything we do, not only the transit, absolutely everywhere. accessibility is a central point of work and comprehensive planning that we do. Accessibility is not only good for people that have those needs. I think accessibility is good across the board. It wasn't until I had to really like ride a carriage through Brooklyn that I found out. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. It is real. I'm also one of these radical people that don't think we should have street furniture on sidewalks. I think we should be putting street furniture in parking spaces. But that's me in a different world. But this idea that we put trees, we put parking meters, we put signs, everything, and continue to consume the pedestrian way is a car culture-based thinking versus really using our roadways, our parking spots to be able to build that infrastructure to not take away from pedestrians. But in this, ADA accessibility is a big part of it. And I don't know if I want to say if there's a section specifically for accessibility.
The 23 plan, the 2023 version of the plan there was, and this one we sort of baked it into each issue specific thing, but that's also to say that, you know, as BC said, this is a living document, and while this is printed, like the PDF, we are planning on supplementing the document with things that need to be highlighted or lifted up more, or new ideas. There is continue to work where if there's something that needs a little bit more of a spotlight, we can continue to have those
So we have portions of it that we take out, and we'll say, like, let's say for this transit element, that's how it is in here. In the website, you'll be able to click on it, and it'll be a book just as big as this one, just for transit, because we want to highlight certain parts of it. In the first plan, the first iteration, and this is a growth of the iteration, so everything in the first plan is still here. But in the first plan, it was just a chapter solely on accessibility, and what we try to do is not make it a chapter, but instead incorporate it in every single portion of it. So it's just the way we designed it changed. It doesn't mean we care less about it, it's just like, let's just implement it in every aspect of it. But look through it, it speaks about accessibility for train stops and exactly making sure we get there. A world of every single train stop or sensor is accessible, and we also talk about modified. People always think wheelchairs are people that are handy, that can only.
Accessibility.
But we're like, we have other things that we can talk about that are deeply meaningful, and reverting people's minds to site access, to how we communicate and things like that. In London, you can hear every single word in a train station announcement. And even now, in the best L train, I still can't understand half of what's going on. You got to kind of freestyle. If you're in New York, you do a really good job at deciphering the muffled sound of a train stop. But we have that information here. Accessibility is deep, but it is an organic document. If you have any criticisms or anything that you see is not happening, you don't need to advocate for it. You just need to tell us, and so we could do the work for you. You don't need to get there and be like, this is everything we want to add. Just say it's not enough. We need to talk about this more, and we'll do the research and the work, and we'll modify it in the document.
Yeah, the document is amazing, a living document, but the key question for me is, how do we fund it?
Yeah.
Or how do we fund portions of it? And if there is political will for certain elements of it, and how do we prioritize one over the other? Or is it something that, and I'm sure you've thought of this, you know, is it the low-hanging fruit, like the Livonia Yard expansion, you know, maybe very doable? But the key is, you know, how do we prioritize it, and how do we fund it?
So, well, we are very aware of the power and influence and the charter mandated responsibilities that we have under our purview. We're not full of it in any way, shape, or form. So all the things you see here are broken down into 4 categories after that. Like things we can do legislatively, things we can do with the money that we have in Borough Hall, not money from City Hall or anything. What do we have in Borough Hall that's available to us, which is like a penny compared to the what they have over there. But things that we have, and then some of it is advocacy. The IBX's reality, you know, Donovan Richards from Queens and I have been going like 100% all in to support the IBX. That advocacy has a lot of value. When they come here, the discussion isn't going to be on whether or not that IBX is going to happen in these local communities. It's going to happen. Your voice is now is like, what is it going to look like once it happens? But if Donovan and I are not 100% on board, or we're pushing back, it delays it. It adds more fodder to like the people that are against it. So advocacy is a big part of what we do here. So in it, those 3 things: it's legislation, advocacy, and money from us. And there's one other one there.
Outreach. And I'll say that the 2023 version of the plan was really formatted with that at the forefront, where each individual recommendation had little key and icon for this. This one this is formatted more like an emulation of a real comp plan. So it doesn't have those icons next to everything, but that's a good example of how these two documents, same things are still in them, it's just a formatting choice for the 23 plan, prioritizes that format of how to present everything.
Yeah, and I just want, this is, in the beginning, he said this, it's a document to inspire, right? We sat with Zoran before when he was polling at 3%. He was like, what do you want for the city? I was like, one, I just want, affordability is the only thing you should be talking about. If you're talking about anything else, I don't want to even hear it, I told him. Second thing I said, comprehensive planning. It's like, we can save this city long term. We have huge issues in the city that we're falling way behind on infrastructurally. We're ignoring. We can save it. It is not sexy. It isn't, but you can save the city in your time here. And I gave it to him. He saw it, and he was like, why don't we have one citywide? And that worked. Just the fact that he knows comprehensive planning is in existence, is something that's important, is going to go a long way. Right now, we're doing charter revision work, talk about the development of housing. It's a lazy solution to not having a comprehensive plan. That's all it is. It's patchwork. We're not gonna solve for it with these resolutions if they all pass. It's gonna help us get further, but it's not gonna pass. A comprehensive plan is how we deal with this. You're gonna have an IBX. How much housing are we projecting to have in and around it? How are we gonna develop it? Are we still supporting small businesses? How many schools are we gonna have to build? The sewer systems and the infrastructure in there are for single-family homes, 2- and 3-family homes. How are we gonna build buildings that are 8, 9 stories? We have to have those conversations thoroughly and with everyone. The city doesn't do that, and we get in big trouble. So a big part of this is inspiration. It's showing people we can do it and that we should do it. So I'm hoping that within the 8 years that a potential Zoran Mandani mayoralty exists, that we get this done. It's not going to happen under Governor Cuomo. It's not going to happen under Curtis Lewa, and it's definitely not going to happen under Eric Adams. So I'm not saying any of them are going to, there's not a political meeting. I'm not saying any of them are going to, but if they were to get elected, it's dead in the water. That's not what they do. They wake up every single day, they put their finger in the air, and they move. Can't work that way. The mayor right now is pushing out a lot of content related to development projects that he wants to do without any communication to elected officials or local communities, because he's looking to pad his stats before he leaves on the amount of affordable housing that he builds. City Council just approved 2 huge developments, one in Jamaica and one in Bronx. Why are they doing that? It's because right now, the City Council is about to lose its power through an appeals board, and they got to show force that they are building housing and that they shouldn't do this and that member deference is not real. It's all a political play. But even if we don't get any of these Charter Revision Commission things done, let's say none of them happen, the fact that they motivated the City Council to finally finalize what's happening in the Bronx and to this Jamaica stuff is not easy. That was a very difficult, expansive one. That would have not happened unless these proposals were on board and that we were holding the City Council accountable. So I think a lot of these things, sometimes the paper they're printed on and the inspiration and the motivation and the shaming that they do is what's important. So I just want to be clear that maybe we can't pay for everything. Maybe we can't do everything in here. Maybe we inspire the city to move forward with the plan.
Just a sub-question, thank you.
Sure.
Comprehensive answer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know what you're going through in terms of funding. I worked for the council.
Oh, okay.
For 20 years. Capital plan.
Yeah.
But have we thought, like with city planning, in the concept of, making them a partner with transit and planning and getting things done, have we thought about leveraging developers or businesses to, like with planning projects, plazas and other enhancements on a project, developers throw in their fund pieces, but if there's something here that they would jump on the bandwagon and agree to fund portion. About that in terms of momentum.
Yeah, so just, I appreciate that you're even thinking about the idea that the developer will contribute to some degree outside of their purview.
Right.
And we also saw this in London where there's a pot of money that developers have to put money into that speaks to infrastructure that needs to be built out long-term on it. Why comprehensive planning is so important? Because right now, individual buildings that get zoned don't take on the burden of building out for the future of the neighborhood or where they are. They're only responsible for their individual impact, which is nonsensical. In the way that comprehensive planning would work is that that type of fund would be something that would be considered. Right now, the city of New York takes rezonings, and through the rezonings is that they build infrastructure for your community. If you don't do rezoning, you won't see any new infrastructure in your community. That's bad planning. In your case, the plaza would already be something that we're talking about and that we're building in a comprehensive plan long before development was even communicated. Sewer systems would be up to date, transit systems will be good to go because the city would be doing capital work completely independent of development through a comprehensive plan. Because in the comprehensive plan, it'll also outline how development is gonna happen over the next 20 years. So while we're getting there, all the other stuff is being built and we're not negotiating or leveraging critical infrastructure that should be done independent of development for development. But we're not there yet. And DCP, unfortunately, Dan Garodnick, who I love with all my heart, he was a great council member, went into DCP, and I think he had a lot of bold ideas that he wanted to do, and he got the City of Yes stuff done. But DCP is like an independent agency that'll consume you as soon as you get there. A person with great ideas and bold ideas want to get something done, they get to DCP and they get chopped off at the legs and they just submit to the infrastructures of the processes that exist. And I really want to push back against that. I think DCP is a problematic agency in the city of New York, especially if they're fighting against comprehensive planning. But I guess I'm saying all that is because without a comprehensive plan, the work you're doing is still what the city does now, which is like, oh, this developer will help out with this plaza. This developer will help out with these trees. Like, no, they shouldn't be responsible for any of that. We should be already on track to get all that stuff done, whether or not they develop. And when they develop, all that infrastructure already exists for the community members that will soon be a part of it once they move into their.
Antonio, I remember, when you mentioned 2023, I remember I was there at that meeting. I know Carl was with me, did do it, the plan.
Yeah.
And the very important thing, and I agree with Kalia, is the tension's not just, we gotta be worried about trains and buses, but the concern is how can we get the city, state, and federal agencies to work together of a safe and easy way of transportation, getting across the street on a curb cut smooth. Because accessibility, and let Edith rest in peace, wanted to make sure that everything was fully accessible and safe community. And when I'm looking, I see accessibility, but I just think in the next year, we need to bring it up a notch. Because what I'm seeing out there is people not understanding how to get the answer or get the question in. But what I'm seeing right now is don't hear enough about accessibility because remember, we have early childhood up to when they come to seniors and veterans and disability. So there might be something we have to work together on this. And on a good note, just to let you know, yes, we are getting more accessible stations. That's one thing I think we should be pleased because more accessibility, even on the railroads, are getting it. We just need to make sure that everyone is aware of what the new future comes up.
Yeah. I agree. I think there was a neighborhood in London, but it also happens around the world, where they talk about like the inspiration by which you build infrastructure in a city. And there's one place it was like an 8-year-old kid. Like we want to build this city for an 8-year-old kid. But what does that 8-year-old kid expect? So height issues, visibility issues, language issues. Just like can an 8-year-old read this maybe? Maybe it's a 5-year-old, I don't know. But just doing things that make it so that the street works for an 8-year-old kid. Because if it works for an 8-year-old kid, it works for everyone. And it sounds so like primitive or simplistic, very simple. It's just like, oh, but for your inspiration that in every document, in everything you do for street grids and for the development of your neighborhood, that you're building a city for your 8-year-old child, and that inspiration is like rooted in everything you're doing, makes a huge difference. We don't do that in this city. Our city, the foundation of our decision making is mostly money, solely money. So I hear what you're saying. We'll do better, and what we'll do is we could probably take a chapter, infuse it with how you're thinking about accessibility. We'll give that to you. You let us know if you feel that what we did in this chapter is an example of accessibility advocacy that is meaningful. If you're like, I'm satisfied with this, then we can start working on integrating it in the rest of the chapters.
And I'm also happy, Antonio, just to let everyone know, I am happy when I'm seeing that in right now, curb cuts are being replaced.
Yeah, right.
And I'll use an example, DOT Edmond. And if Q was here today, he would agree with me because we're working on communicating with people, since I wear the other hat that's outreach.
Yeah.
That's the key we need to work on, is educating the community on that.
Thank you, thank you.
I would just briefly add to that, the intention very much is that this is like the foundation for future work as well. So that includes not only updating this, but issuing subsequent, more issue-specific reports. So for instance, a report about the IBX in more detail, a report about the accessibility in more detail that could refresh this, but then be a paper and memo in its own right.
Now, look, you were on the website. You might, like, when you go on the website, you'll see what we're talking about. That even though this is already a dense document, there's even more density in it.
375 pages.
Yeah.
Because I thought of printing it in advance.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we-
no, that's
we-
not
That's why I
happening.
bought my laptop.
That's the sale, like, can you buy a copy of that? 'Cause that's,
So this is, so we, you can't buy it. No, we can't sell it to you. Your tax dollars paid for this, so we'll give it to you. The problem is, we have a very limited copy because we have to use tax dollars to print it. And nowadays, because accessibility and on the website is like what people want to do, we're gonna give 2 to like the Brooklyn Public Library that'll be accessible to them. So we're being very smart about how we give these books out so that people can go, you can go to the main library and open it up and use it and give it back. But we only have like 100 copies of this. And look, this is their first one, and they've been milking this one. But we don't have a physical many physical copies.
that's too, like, that's a lot to print.
It is.
Yeah.
We're gonna give it to some, like, to planning schools. We're giving, some to the public library. Like, we're thinking about who we can spread it out that is meaningful.
Well, why can't you sell it, like DC sells plans and maps and
We have to look into it. I mean, there might be a setup where you can buy it from the printer, like order it a la carte. I don't think we can sell it and
We'll
like
work
pocket
on-
the
we'll-
proceeds, but yeah.
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll work on it and see if we can sell it. We don't, obviously, we don't wanna make any money from it, but if, it's just like at cost, like what does it cost to make? We will, you know, that'll be like $5 or something, so
I would
we'll,
like a copy, so I
All
would
right.
love to figure out how to do it, yeah.
I'm gonna work through figuring that out. Thank you for that. $55?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
In bulk, so.
In bulk, that's crazy.
But there's always other ways in accessibility, you know, you can always, you know, some people will now use tablets to get the copy of it.
Well, that, you can do that now, so you
I
can
already
go,
am.
okay, there you
Come
go.
on, you know, I'm
So
okay.
I just wanted to say, to me, the important thing is to get from political will, political will.
Yeah.
Right, and how to move that needle. And a lot, you know, that there's, the ways to have those conversations are, well, congestion pricing, you really don't want to drive your car in. So changing the way people are thinking about, curb space, putting aside the conversation, 2 hours it's gonna take you to have the conversation about congestion pricing, which, but that, you know, that moving that first needle about moving from, like with the NYCTRC ferry, to why don't I have it? It does take a while, but it's that, the interesting genesis of political will.
I would-
Kind of,
The political will stuff, I think it's changing a little bit.
You all right, Harry?
There's somebody that's been trying to speak.
that's
for a
Mr.
while.
X.
But I would just say when it comes to political will, and I had this conversation with Governor Hochul over the congestion pricing. And it's like, I just think that a good planning always wins. Good planning always wins. So if you have something that is tried and true, it's been planned, it's been done in other places, even if it's unpopular through people's personal anecdotes and experiences, you get it done in a short amount of time, the planning will always win. And she had her best week when she supported congestion pricing. When you call, like on social media, the amount of support she got for that. And I hope that type of support shows her that, look, good planning, thoughtful planning, even if politically unpopular, long-term will always work out. Plazas by Bloomberg, Jeanette Sadi-Khan put bike lanes everywhere, and she was persona non grata, and now I talk about it all the time. She's getting international awards for the work that she did in New York. And it's like, yeah, you know, the Park Slope people are really not happy with you. It doesn't mean that the world is gonna be unhappy with you long-term. So I would just say, I get a lot of people upset how I think and how I work. A lot of people in Brooklyn, they're upset all the time. And I just feel like, what I wanna do is get the next borough president, the next elected officials that walk into a room, I want them to feel uncomfortable with their complacency. with their inability to move. It's like Antonio just went crazy here. He just went and talked about a bunch of stuff he didn't like. He said it. He's gonna execute. I'm very outcomes driven. And he's like, now you go there and you're trying to make everybody happy, playing both sides, saying, well, maybe, I don't know. I want people to be like, hey, just be straight with us. Like, what's happening? And that my value isn't necessarily my ideas, it's my sincerity. That people are just like, I might disagree with Antonio, but he's honest. He's gonna tell you what it is. And he's not gonna play both sides. So I'm hoping that I give a little bit of light to the elected officials that are younger and just be bold. Say what you, and if you lose, lose. It doesn't matter, but be yourself and like vote your conscience. So it's something I'm trying to do.
That's the Brooklyn way.
Yeah, it is the Brooklyn way.
John, we were joined by, John McCarthy and Lucille and team and
Anthony
John,
Bell.
and yes, and sorry, and Anthony. I didn't know if there anybody else came in as well. John, you wanted to?
Yeah,
Quick
John.
word, John McCarthy, Chief of Policy of PCA. First of all, welcome, I know PCAC has welcomed you, but welcome to Team Broadway. We're delighted to have you here. And thank you for all your advocacy. It's really important, and you're a leader in that space.
Thank you.
I just want to comment what you said before about the IBX and the value of advocacy in addition to dollars.
Yeah.
How important it is. We see it every day. We had a scoping meeting last night in Brooklyn between you and the borough president, Queens, John Richards. It's critical because otherwise the projects just get, there's 100 ways to stall a project. You need someone pushing up and also working with you. So we value that. And then just on the side, we had the pleasure to be together in London, and I can attest that I think I was there to take notes. So that the borough president in his college could say, do this better, do that better.
Yeah. He did a great job representing the MTA, by the way. You know, it was a great trip. I told him about how I feel about, our transit and our inability to get things done like fast and more affordable. There's realities that we have here that they don't have over there, so it's not like apples to apples, so I get that. But I really want to push the MTA, and I really want them to do more. And this group, you do that every single day. Getting you on that board officially is something that I don't even understand why we're not there yet. But, John, we had a great time.
I'm on the board, I just don't have a vote.
No, we need to get your vote, I guess what I'm saying. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Thank you so much.
I hope this is not the last time we meet. I want you guys to get a sense for how we're thinking. But I'll just very quick on the freight portion of this. I'm very concerned that the IBX is going to be like solely a housing development engine in and around these neighborhoods that move around the IBX. I would be very careful. There's a lot of jobs that are deeply meaningful that the railway uses to move goods. We want to lessen what's happening in the Belt Parkway and the BQE. We need to make sure we're moving freight through rail and barge. And if we're going to do the IBX and then we're solely looking for housing expansion and we're going to rezone manufacturing districts and so forth, what's going to happen is that the movement of those goods can no longer be on rail. They're going to have to move back into the street. So we have a conversation, have a balance, a comprehensive idea on how we can do both things. Build housing where appropriate, but also protect manufacturing and the movement of goods, keep them out of our streets, yeah. So I just want you guys to also be partners in that conversation. It's like we want this transit, housing, not just housing, jobs, maintenance of jobs, the movement of goods, all going to be valuable. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Yeah, with my head in it? And I'm going to give, I know it sounds ridiculous, I'm going to give you guys one of these as a group. And let it live in here, and go at it. Beat it up. That's what we want. And you'll start seeing. Well, beat it up online, but you'll have a physical plan here.
Can we get a group picture? Group picture?
Wait, group picture too? Okay, let's get everybody up.
I'm happy to take a group picture.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Okay, we go where you go.
Oh, wherever
You wanna do it by the Metro card?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, okay. Told you this was gonna be a hit.
Give us cameras.
Yep.
I'm gonna be holding you for my invitation.
I want you to go to the mill basement.
I'm only going to.
18?
That's what I got.
Yeah. And we have our next one's like crazy.
You gotta run, people will see that. They'll see that.
Stand sideways. Yes, and we.
So those are,
Next to your. Your borough president.
Yeah, mine too.
We're gonna need this.
Get in there.
Here?
All right, Phil, go first.
All right, smile this way.
All right, everybody.
Big smiles.
Say transit on 3. 1, 2, 3. You all follow directions very well.
Well, you're the chief.
Yeah.
One more.
All right, same thing. All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3, transit on 3.
Transit on 3.
Awesome. All right. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we do need your head to do that.
I've never done it. I'll put my head through it.
You wanna take that picture, Jono?
I'll get it. What's going away at the end of the year?
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Kalia.
Let me know when you're ready.
Oh.
I got a little head, so.
No, please, no.
Okay, that's.
Hold on, guys.
Okay, go.
Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
Love you, but you're annoying.
No, no.
Oh!
That's
Thank you guys,
Too much cheese, sorry.
Remember that.
Kalia broke it.
Anything you guys wanna do is, transit related, and like Borough Hall, you guys wanna come to just the Borough of Brooklyn, leave Manhattan for a day, and you guys are allowed to have this meeting in Borough Hall, or whatever it is. Just call us, and we're just available with us, so you guys can just hang out.
Great transit at Borough Hall.
Yeah, yeah, great transit.
I know. Very easy.
That one is really nice.
Yeah, you got beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much.
And I'd like to say.
That's what the meeting is.
Yes, we do.
We're closing.
Whenever we can be
Is it because we're saying it wrong?
No, I when I going there for a thing ever, I always it.
Oh, okay. And I used to say Houston Street.
I don't know about the rest of you. I don't know what's going on.
No, you did.
No,
But I always like to say.
Good.
Marisol, we're just going to finish this break. We're going to get started again.
Am I all in? What do you want me this way or that way?
No, you're good. I was just talking to the mic for Marisol. You're perfect right now. You're good. I was just talking to Marisol. And this is me. Let me go on.
Okay. Still waiting to ask the question.
Thank you. You're a good job. I don't want to get rid of you.
You can't, 15 years?
Permanent for this board.
No.
We need to figure out a way to get rid of him in a sensible way.
No, because guess what?
Bring back Trudy. How can Lisa be Jack?
The environment went out, but now it's open.
I think so, it's the future was like that.
The camera?
That's right, I should be. Here.
And then I will,
Thank you.
I'll see you there at PCAC.
Okay.
You're being recognized.
On the board.
Actually, before that,
No, not yet, Marisol, we're just having, everybody take 5. Okay.
I know, we're running into each other, we were running into each other in different things.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, we do have to resume our meeting, so.
Yeah. Is that better now? Yeah.
Folks like that?
I'm pretty.
I like that.
Okay.
My general board's on the
Okay, guys.
20th.
Okay.
What's up?
Well, you should have, because library. Oh, wait, that's his birthday.
Okay, Lucille.
Bye.
Thanks, Lucille.
Thank you, Sam. Tell me I'm here. Thank you.
It's still there.
Okay, so we do need to move on with our meeting.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Thanks again. Kalia, you know, you got your sandwich.
We'll send the bill, later on, okay?
Okay, great.
$5, right?
It's 55 now, I found out.
That one I'm
Do we
taking
still have
water.
our quorum?
Mr. Albert.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you. Let's see, we have
Dante.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and Trudy's online would be 8.
That's a point, right?
So,
That made my day.
no, but Trudy does. So, folks, we do need to move on with the usual stuff at our meeting.
Hello, you were asking about me. I've been coming back and forth,
No,
but
we hear
I'm
you,
on
Trudy.
now.
Okay, can
So
we
you
get
can count me
approval,
for a quorum.
and we get
or whatever.
approval of today's agenda, folks?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, thank you. Any dissension? No. All right, how about the minutes? Has
Make a
everyone,
motion to approve the minutes, because we're running out. Second.
you don't have to be an automaton though, Chris, you know, we can.
I'm speeding up.
Anybody, have any problems with the minutes? Otherwise, they are approved. Okay, let me go into my report, because I have a lot of stuff. So, first of all, it was Demetrius's 1-year anniversary the other day, and he got a large round of applause, and he's done a lot of really good things. I've been in the back with him, and I've seen what goes on, and on-time performance has gone up to 85% on the subways, which is phenomenal for a long period of time. If you rode the trains this summer, you saw how much more frequent the service was. There's a new round of countdown clocks, a newer technology that is being put into the stations that is not only more readable, it is much more accurate. Some of the old ones have lost their accuracy, unfortunately. So he is celebrating his approval of service, improvement in service, and he's right about that. And we thank him and hope he has another great year and that the system gets rebuilt as he is envisioning it to be rebuilt. We're spending a lot more time on repairs of internal things that people don't see, signal rooms, pump rooms, welded rail, all kinds of things that are not sexy, as he would say, but are very important to the ridership, and that continues to go on, which is great. There are now station barriers to prevent you from falling or being pushed into the tracks at over 100 stations, and that is going to continue to grow through the winter and into 2026. So there are some stations that don't have it the entire length of the platform. For instance, 86th and Broadway doesn't, 79th and Broadway doesn't, and some of the others don't. But the majority of the station is. It can only be done basically where you have similar or identical car types, because the door openings are in different places on different car types. So while, you know, certain stations have a wide variety of car types, and you can't put the barriers there because you'd be unloading in front of a barrier. So, yes, Stuart.
I want to make that comment. So the ones they're installing now, the look is very professional, it's very nice, but there's some stations that are very narrow, and the placement really is impeding the flow of customer traffic. If you look at the 2-3 at Fulton Street, under 110.
Yep, I have looked at that.
You know, it's very narrow.
Clark Street is kind of narrow, but it works there.
Yeah, but I'm just giving one as an example, but I think they look tasteful.
Sorry, what?
Especially for little.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Very narrow. Yeah.
And then people tend to walk on the protected strip.
Yep.
And that's dangerous.
I've noticed that. Yep.
Yeah, I do it.
You do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew, and on a serious note, because she almost broke one of the wheels when we were doing Navaland testing.
Ah.
So from safety perspective, maybe they need to narrow stations.
Yeah, people have been urging them to be placed. People have really, for years now, urged barriers at 72nd and Broadway, which is part of the original line and has a very narrow platform, and they can't because it was too narrow. Yeah.
And I would say Wall Street, but they've gotten some in there.
So also, on the issue of Access-a-Ride, 94% of Access-a-Ride pickups happen within 20 minutes of the promised time, which I think is really moving in the right direction. They're very proud of that, and they hope to get it down to 15 minutes and down maybe even to 10 minutes, but that is pretty good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
As an accessorized rider since 1999.
Wow. Have you noticed the difference?
There is a big difference.
Yeah.
In the way that we track vehicles, in the way we track our trips, in the way that we communicate in booking trips, ability to make trips without planning ahead of time is very much we're moving in the right direction with accessorized.
Excellent. That's great news.
And also, the accessory team has been going out to do AAR training, how to use the app. That is definitely up.
Andrew, I just wanted to bring this up to you guys. I still think that there is not enough community outreach in terms of teaching people how to use Omni. I think the relationship with the library, the elderly, English as a second language learners, and with disabilities to use the Access-a-Ride Omni. I think we can create some type of presentation, and it can run in the library or something. I love the library, so I think that's a good place to start.
That's a good point, and I think it's going to ramp up through November and December because you have to, and they know that.
There was a speaker, from Sydney yesterday, it was
Australia?
No, spelled CIDNY.
Oh, okay.
Since
Dr. Sharon.
Actually, it wasn't Dr. Sharon, but since the speakers at the meetings listen to the speakers at the meetings, and that's who listens to the speakers at the meetings. There was, but who raised the fact that there were, and not just in who does the, how they, satisfaction rate is studied, all electronic, but so is outreach on how training and stuff are done. So it would be helpful maybe, for ACTA to raise doing those presentations. I don't know if you are part of those meetings.
Yes, and I have mentioned it.
I'm actually talking to Kalia too.
Please not ACTA.
No, thank you. Yeah.
But, that would be helpful to do, that more of those kind, to do something on a loop to make it available in a broad range of, medium at different, to go, send out to senior centers also.
Exactly, because as you know, probably within, every senior center, there's probably a library within 2 block radius. And most senior centers probably have one of those, right outside. It's one of those presentations, but I think that because we're moving so closely to transitioning from the MetroCard, we don't want a group of disabled travelers or paratransit travelers stuff, try to figure out how to use.
No, we definitely don't. We definitely don't. I'm gonna raise that issue. But I know that they're aware of it, that they're ramping up all of the Omni instructions and all of the things that are gonna happen. Eventually, not real soon, but CBTC will be coming to the A division of the subways. Lexington line is likely going to be the first one. The specifics for the next round of A division cars, which are the R262s, which will definitely go to the Lexington line, will be, all of the new cars for the A division will be, loaded with the ability for, CBTC. And, it's likely that the Lexington line will be the first to get it. So that's pretty exciting, I think. There are 15 more customer service centers coming, and they're being really well managed now. I've sent a few people to some of them, and they tell me, wow, they were really great. I got everything I needed there. And they're open 24/7, which is great, and they're going to serve parts of the boroughs that have not yet been served. So keep watching for them. They're coming. The F&M swap is due to start on December 8th. There are a lot of implications with this. I'm trying to get a speaker for our next TRC meeting, which will be slightly before this takes effect. And
Just mentioned that to, John and Lucille.
great.
I said you'd follow up with them, right?
I will, because I think people need to know what's coming. That fact that it's, Monday to Friday, it's only certain hours. The M's will be on the 63rd Street line. One of the things they like to say is that people who live in who live around the Queensbridge houses, but who work or travel frequently to places along Queens Boulevard and the rest of the line will have a direct line there from when the M train is running there, because the M will be running local. It'll go to the Woodhaven Boulevard stop where the massive shopping centers are. So if you...
Meantime, you know that the only alternative are those buses, right?
Yeah, I do.
That will be the 62, the 7,
But there is a bad operation right between 36th Street and Queens Plaza from the way that the trains have to switch tracks. So this is a worthwhile thing, but it has to be spelled out and explained clearly to the public. Hopefully that will happen, and I'm trying to get them for our next speaker. There's also going to be a movement for implementing proof of payment. When everything is Omni, that will be a lot easier. Whether it's your phone, an Omni card, or a credit card, if you're using the same one, you can easily prove you've paid. But that is coming because there is a lot of non-payment continuing to go on. The estimate is mammoth about how much the MTA is losing, almost $1 billion a year. You know how much service you can provide with that kind of money? It's just unreal, and we have to have people pay. So we will see how this works out. There has been $600 million.
So sorry, we forgot all that stuff.
Oh, gosh.
Your ring jacket?
You missed us, it's okay.
Oh, I'm done. All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Enjoy.
Thanks. There's been a $600 million in savings on implementing some of the capital program, and they're going to use that savings to make some additional stations accessible. And those 3 additional stations are going to be Fort Hamilton Parkway on the D, Morrison Soundview on the 6, and 2nd Avenue on the F. They are doing projects under budget and more quickly now, more efficiently. They're combining several projects at once, so they're saving money. So this is all great news, especially with Washington still threatening to cut off various funds.
I thought they said 145th Street on the 8th Avenue line and Gates Avenue on Jamaica line.
Correct. That too. They got...
Those are the 2 additional stations.
It's a net 2 new stations,
Yeah.
but in addition to for.
All of those
They
stations.
moved some, they added, they didn't have the names of all of the stations, right? So now they've named them and added 2 to bring it up to 69.
Yes.
It's super confusing because it's not yet online. It's all on a piece of paper.
It's on the press release.
And the company.
Yes.
Penn, I'm sure you've all heard about the Penn Access debacle. service at the 4 Bronx stations was supposed to have started for New Haven line of Metro North to serve Penn Station, was supposed to have begun in 2027. Amtrak has not supplied the outages, specifically around the Leggett interlocking in the South Bronx, which needs work. They have not supplied the manpower, which helps maneuver all of these things happen during these outages. So they haven't done that. So now the service at the 4 Bronx stations, Co-op City, Morris Park, Van Ness, Parkchester, and Hunts Point, are not scheduled to start till 2030 at the earliest. However, Metro North has a plan to do the 3 northernmost Bronx stations, with the exception of Hunts Point. They can't do a temporary platform at Hunts Point, which also has a subway a block away from this station, or 2 blocks away. But at the others, they can do temporary platforms, and if they can put those up, and Amtrak agrees, they could start some service in 2027. Those trains would originate at New Rochelle and then serve Co-op City, Morris Park, Parkchester. Not Hunts Point, though, because there's just no room to do a temporary platform there. There is a possibility of a lawsuit to force Amtrak agreed to do all of these things, but they haven't. But they're going through their own issues as well. Andy Byford, who's heading Penn Station redevelopment, is very aware of this. He's also very aware of the threat to Gateway, which is the most important infrastructure project in the whole country, in my opinion. If those tunnels under the Hudson fail, all rail traffic from Boston to Miami to New Orleans and all New Jersey transit is stopped.
Want to give the exciting news?
Albany?
The exciting news. Oh, yeah, the exciting news. I have been able to wonderfully secure Andy Byford as our speaker at the December PCAC meeting. So that will be great, and he will give us a lot of info, I am sure, on. He does. And he was actually, I went to the New York building breakfast, which several folks went to, and he was very praiseworthy of the 33rd Street corridor the MTA has rebuilt in the old Penn Station, not Moynihan. We're talking about the old Penn Station. And he would like to see more of that, and he would like to see much better signage, which he was very praiseworthy of the signage along that 33rd Street corridor. You know, there's a departure board on every pole now there. I mean, it's really great. So,
accessibility is a real priority.
Yes.
You know, especially now in Amtrak.
Yeah.
We just recently had a conversation with him about it, and my question to him was, what does he think to happen as he tackles the ever-changing landscape of what accessibility looks like? And he has very, very interesting answers. You know, even dealing with the politics.
was his answer, Chris, with his head through the Metro card?
No.
Oh, that's what accessibility looks
Your
like.
information, sir, he was at my forum in Queens as a special guest star.
Very nice.
So that's where I got 400
He lives in
people.
Queens now, you know.
No kidding.
Yes,
I know, Long Island City.
exactly.
I saw him on the way to a Mets game one day.
Well, you
Yeah,
were.
yes, he
They
did.
were both going to.
Oh, okay.
And it happened to be the same game.
That's amazing. So we will see what happens with Penn Access. I think there's a lot of pressure on Amtrak to at least get the temporary stations up, so the service could begin in 2027, and hopefully they understand the importance of that. They're doing a lot of additional work trains. There's a $386 million contract out for new, cleaner, hybrid work trains, which will be much less pollutant in the tunnels than our current work trains are, which are belching like diesel fumes and other contaminants that nobody wants to smell in the stations, which then the movement of the train propels down further than where they are, and everybody gets this foul smoke. So the new work trains that are hybrid, electric, as well as diesel, where diesel is okay, and battery, I believe, are going to be in service before too long. They did not give us the timetable when they will arrive, but they are ordered, and that should really clean up some of the air underground. As you have heard, feds have stopped funding for the 2nd Avenue subway and the Gateway tunnels.
They said they stopped.
They said they've stopped it, yeah. Secretary Duffy was a little less definite than the president was on the issue of Gateway. He said it's not exactly halted, but he's getting pressure, I'm sure. I know that the Republican candidate in New Jersey, Jack Chittarelli, has said, I will fight for this project. It is very important. So people on both sides of the Hudson and both political parties understand how important this project is. And hopefully we will not see a decline. The work continues, by the way, even though the funding is supposedly halted. There is a big push now for speed cameras in the work zones on MTA bridges. There has been some very dangerous speeding by people working on various places, and so President Sheridan of Bridges and Tunnels has announced this is going to start. This is really going to start in 2026. They're going to do that. There's also going to be weight restrictions on many of the bridges. You've all heard, of course, by now about what the lack of weight restrictions has done to the BQE and the danger that it's going through, and it is being rebuilt now. And I actually saw Jamie Barbas at the Transit Museum Gala, who is working on the BQE, and she has said she has found a technology to repair it more quickly and much better than was originally thought. So that is great. We don't want to see the BQE fall down.
To do it all by itself, it doesn't need any help.
Yeah.
I just want to say on both of those pieces of legislation, on the weigh in motion and the work rule cameras, PCAC testified in support of that legislation, and that's something that we've done in the past. But there was just another final rules hearing a month ago.
And the weight restriction would start on the RFK bridge because that one seems to be getting trampled by various trucks. And I said, what's going to happen if you do that? Are these truck drivers going to then try to use one of the small bridges like the McCombs Dam to go between the Bronx and Manhattan, or, the Washington Bridge or something like that? And they said, well, hopefully not. Hopefully the city DOT will also put weight restrictions. Or the trucking companies will just ignore the fines and consider it a cost of doing business and will still do what they're doing now, which a lot of people predicted is what's likely to happen. There's also a tinted window crackdown. There's a lot of bad stuff going on with people behind the tinted windows. They don't know who's in the back seats. They don't know if these folks have just committed a crime and they can't get pictures of them with the cameras. So there is a major crackdown coming on tinted windows. So if you have one, you better get rid of it. And
I'm sorry.
There are degrees of acceptability, and then there are some that are illegal.
Certain SUVs come with the back windows already tinted from the manufacturer.
Right.
So that's the back window, so they don't want the front windows tinted and the windshield.
So the ones that.
But they've already.
From the manufacturer.
There are some that are acceptable, and then there are some that you can't see through at all.
Yeah.
But this is a law that's already been.
Yes, it's already been in the book.
For many, many years.
Yes.
yes,
They're
indeed.
just saying that they haven't been as.
They're cracking down on everything, and you can get rid of my car.
They're gonna actually enforce.
It's been on the books, but
Sounded like your
it
borough
doesn't-
president would like to take rid of your car.
Yes, I need to get rid of my car.
Yes.
So let me move on. Number 7 train repairs, which are going on and on. I guess Lisa understands that, and on. They're delayed 2 years due to increased deterioration at the 61st Street Woodside Station.
I mean, the express track repairs.
Yes. They're trying to make up for it, but there is still almost a 2-year delay on getting it done. In the meantime, of course, they're doing 69th Street and 52nd Street while things are out of order. So they're doing like 3 stations at once, and you may have noticed the last few weekends and some weekdays, 7 trains are only going to Metz Willets Point. They're not going all the way to Main Street while they do additional work at Main Street. So keep if you have an app or something, or you know how to check on it, if you need to use the 7 train. There have been a few weekends where it didn't go west of 74th Street Broadway in Jackson Heights, but there was a lot of advance notice of that, and of course you have lots of options at Jackson Heights.
You don't have, it's terrible. They should make one bus that goes to Woodside so that you can get to the Long Island Railroad. Otherwise, you have to go in a non-accessible entrance to get onto an E train. You have to go all the way around the block to get on a train that can maybe get you to Jamaica. There's no way to get to the Long Island Railroad. Or you could get,
The LaGuardia bus would take you from Jackson Heights to 61st Street
that will
Woodside.
that will take you 2 hours.
Yep.
And that is not okay.
No, I drove that. It doesn't take 2
If
hours.
you, for you, by the time you change bus,
If you have a disability.
you have to change a bus to get from, at Queensboro Plaza, to get onto another bus to get you to 74.
Oh, I wasn't talking from Queensboro Plaza, but okay.
Right, no, because you can't get on the E train.
Right.
You might have to end up in Harlem and have to come back down.
No, I don't mean
It's
taking
just
the
no
bus that
way.
way.
And Andrew, to back up the ladies on this, and I have to agree with them on this, and let's not joke on this. The problem was there has been a massive complaint about accessibility, even in Main Street Flushing, because there was no accessible reroute. And now and Lucille's pleased with me as well as John on this, because we finally got accessible reroute now for all the times, because the elevator in Flushing is being replaced.
And at 74th was out, and yep,
Mhm.
it's been out.
And there's
Replacing a
problems
lot of
because not
elevators.
everyone knows where and getting on that bus with Lisa's mentioning, it's not just 2 hours, it takes 3.
You have to fight.
Thank
You have to
Keep going.
fight with
Keep
people who
going.
are just gonna rip your head off with their bags.
And they still try to do that on an elevator at 74.
Oh, yeah, when you're going to the airport?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
forget
those
about
bags.
it.
I didn't know what kind of bags.
Stroller.
No, I suggested that they have one bus that goes to Woodside, and that then you could change at Woodside to go to wherever else you need to go to, 74th or
And that's
whatever.
what's honored.
But,
Woodside from Queensboro Plaza, you mean, or from where?
no, from Vernon Jackson to Woodside, that
I see
you
what
don't
you
need
mean.
to change,
Okay.
because otherwise there's no way to get
Yeah.
on the Long Island Railroad that is gonna make any sense for anybody, or that they run shuttle trains from Long Island City to Jamaica,
Nope,
and they're not doing that either.
there's no alternative accessible announcements, like.
They don't do that, and I have mentioned it.
They should do that, for sure.
Andrew, I have mentioned it even in the past, and it's still not, and it's really
It's
ticking
hours,
me off.
hours.
I'll talk
And
to
the
Q about
longer,
that. That's-
He was aware of it.
the
I'm
longer
sure he is.
the longer the 7 train work goes on, the worse it's gonna be, especially during the winter.
I know.
Whoever's the supervisor in that area,
Woodside Station is pretty deteriorated.
Oh, it's a mess,
Q
but
was aware of this, and I'm sorry to interrupt
it's
because.
about the bus service on the weekends.
And yet you
It's
keep
not
doing
about
it.
it's not about Woodside, it's about the bus service on the
She's
weekends.
right.
That's the alternate,
Yeah.
that's travel.
Yep.
It's not safe. It's not fair for Kalia, it's not fair for me or any person.
It's not fair for anybody.
I was just gonna say everyone. and
Kalia can speak for herself, thank you very much.
Well, I was there a lot, I'm there in Queens a lot, so I'm speaking,
Well, stay in Brooklyn, okay?
no, because it's attached.
It's attached.
Don't let him believe you, don't let him.
There have been 3 billion taps with Omni already, so people have really switched over to it. 86% of the subway now is Omni already, and you have another month and a half, or 2 months, basically, so, it's coming, but they're really using it because the Metro cards are wearing out. I have noticed, like, with the Metro card we get, some of the slots have not been cleaned so well, and it feels like it's gonna ruin the magnetic stripe. So you won't have to pay people to clean these things with Omni, it's about time.
Stuart and Karen both have questions, and it's the station agents who's supposed to clean.
A factoid about Omni. Pure Omni card, or is it credit card?
It's credit cards, phones, or the actual Omni card.
Right, do we know
The breakdown?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can get it.
It's Karen?
The majority of them are not Omni cards, it's,
Credit cards or phones, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm
But they do have
interested in
breakdown,
seeing
yeah.
or hearing.
Yeah. A lot of student Omni card usage now with the new, they're good 7 days, they're good for more rides, so that's really good to see.
What do you, I have a question.
Oh, Karen.
So, quick question for you. Has there been an issue lately with, the site where you, not renew, but you add more money? Because lately, it used to be automatic, I set it up for like $1 limit.
Yep.
And it's not been working.
Oh, it's been working for my wife,
So
that's
they,
weird.
so
Huh.
maybe when they did the, reboot and they.
They had a
did
weekend
the
where it was out,
upgrade,
yeah.
they changed something, so you might wanna go back in and, yeah.
Yeah, you might just wanna recheck it.
It was shut down for a weekend and they redid the whole system, so.
But last weekend, there was a big, last Friday, they had a big, Goodbye to Omni Goodbye MetroCard event, which is where this was, and they had all these food partners.
How we don't get invited?
Listen, I went, nobody invited me, but they had,
Oh, you crashed?
Nobody invited me.
it was at,
You can crash and we can't.
well, it was a media advisory that MTA sent out. It was a press conference.
Well, I got that.
They had a Carvel ice cream cake with a MetroCard on it. They had flying saucers with blue and orange sprinkles. Oh, I said, I'll get out of my pajamas for that. There were, they had all these different kinds of, food, all these different kind of food partners.
Wow, Zabar's even.
Zabar's make, MetroCard cookie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Last Thursday, a week ago today, there was a record number of subway riders, 4.56 million riders in that one day. So, I mean, if you've ridden lately, the trains are packed again. You're standing, basically. They're really, really packed. So that's great to see. We want to see people back in the system, and they are definitely back, all times of the day. It's pretty incredible. And the last thing I will tell you is, if you haven't seen it already, 23rd Street on the number 6 line is now 23rd Street Baruch College. So we have lots of college additional names throughout the system now. Lots of them. Yep. And there was a major event at Grand Central the other day. I couldn't make it, but Lisa was there, so I'm going to let her tell you about it and all the improvements that have been made in Grand Central, both on the commuter rail lines and the subway lines.
Yeah, not invited, just went. They finished the work on the platforms and the connectors. So finally, there's both escalators work that go from the main, I guess, major entry when you come down from terminal into the station, go right down to the 7. One of those escalators has been blocked off one at a time for well over a couple of years. They've reopened all of the circulation. I think they still have another escalator that they're building.
Where's that entrance?
At, which one, the new one?
Yes, and you said that's working, the 7?
Oh, so it's right when you come down like mid-block on 42nd Street, you come down by the Boulay Bakery or Bork Bakery, and then you come down on the 4, 5, 6, and then you go down down that short escalator, you come in, and then there's the 2 steep escalators, that go down, right down to the 7. Well, it goes down, and then you get off, and then you go down, a longer one.
Those escalators out there.
Yeah. And then they had put in some other new escalators that are further over, closer to the 3rd Avenue.
And most of the commercial frontages in the Grand Central Madison area are now rented and operating, so that's great. It's not as deserted looking as it was. That's what I read.
I only saw one. Tracks, only
Well,
tracks.
tracks we know, but
I'm gonna have to go down there, because I've only seen tracks.
At Grand Central, I'd still be grateful for more, visible signs of where the elevator is.
They're working on
On
that.
the track.
I'm on that committee, so they're
Very
working on
hard
it.
to find. And one of those elevators on the left is not working. For a while. And also, where is it? Somewhere on the 7, where you get off and you have to go outside the tracks to get onto the elevator. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If that was better marked, I mean, I went back and forth and back and forth.
Is that, down on the lower level?
I think it was I don't know which level it was, but it was, I was trying to find the elevator.
Yeah.
And you have to go outside.
Right, they discourage elevator use, I think, for some reason.
Well.
It doesn't mean they should.
No, it's on the 7 line or something? Yeah.
Oh, on the 7 line?
On the 7
Okay, I
line.
thought you meant in
No,
Grand
it was
Central
on the
Terminal.
7 line, and
Yeah.
I took it by mistake, and I was trying to find my way back, and I kept saying to people, where's the elevator? Oh, it's here. Oh, it's there. Oh, it's here.
So it's complicated, because you can't go from the 7 to anywhere. You have to go, it's like,
I know,
you just,
but this was
steps.
from the 7 down to where you go, to then you go. But, and there was no sign that I could see.
Yeah.
Finally, someone said it was over here. Anyway,
thing I can say is, Sharon, I spoke to, Radush, since I'm the chair of the signage for accessibility. Since everything is done, now we have to put the new signs up with the Navalance program inside. So they are working on it. Once I have more details, they were supposed to get back to me.
Okay, Lisa, you want to give your report?
How are we doing on time? Well, we have very little time.
We do.
So, do we want to do the bylaws? No, let's hold that. Why don't we do, old business, new business,
We can do
any
that.
other questions that anybody has? And then if there's time, then we'll go through any other things. that
Okay,
we have.
anyone have any items of old business to bring up?
The B-43 on Kingston,
Yeah.
people are still complaining that, there are no announcements for it being rerouted. DDC is doing, infrastructure project on Kingston now, so it is being rerouted because of that. So if they could make announcements, that would be.
They're not making announcements anywhere along the route?
So the people only in my district complained to me, so I assume in that area. But that was, I think, the last time I brought it up, and then it happened again, and someone brought it up, so.
You don't have any idea how long the road work's happening?
It should be completing by year's end.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
you're
a
gonna be
lot of
doing,
announcements they have to make still.
Yeah,
Do you know if there are, signs for any reroutes on the bus stops?
I don't, but I can ask around from the complainant.
Yeah, that would be good to
Yeah, that'd be
know,
good to know.
because then the announcement should be automated if it's gonna be that period of time.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Anybody else have anything of old business? Yes, Karen?
I was curious, did we ever hear what happened with that, man who was taken off the train because he had his legs on the seat? Was there any follow-up? Did we?
Did not hear anything
His,
further.
all the charges were dismissed. There was no, there was a lot of back and forth. There were no charges that were brought forth. A lot of fingers that got pointed in a lot of different directions.
A lot of different directions.
I do have one question about, last presentation we had was about subway surfing. Where are we, about subway surfing and educating these children and making their voices, the advocates against subway surfing?
So I learned this morning in the MTA news clips that car divisions up on the roof are being placed on number 7 trains. So that'll be the 188s and one other car type, I think, and use them as 7. And that will prevent people from climbing on that line.
That should prevent people from
Should.
finding, it will take some time to find them a workaround to get up there. It's supposed to be hard rubber that is not bendable or malleable. They're also putting,
And the cameras, they have the cameras, but it's not a deterrent.
They have cameras and they have drones.
I know.
they're also putting, changing the locks on the 7 so that people can't get into where they would go to do get some of the access.
The end doors of the subways are being, something that they're doing.
Yeah, a new lock.
So they're attacking it from the engineering perspective, at the same time, the education point that we heard about last, presentation. And so the engineering and environment are two of the things that I think are being done in a physical way, and the education aspect, and then enforcement, that's Dr. Hayes, who has, a conflict when he's on this council, has, put forth a proposal to get, penalize parents, if their children are caught.
Dr. Haynes.
Dr. Haynes, yes, so, he wanted to speak with the
I'm a parent,
MTA.
I don't wanna be penalized for something Asia does. Kidding me?
Well, probably not the first time, but I think the way parents find out about it are when they get all that no parent wants.
Yep.
Right.
So that brings the next,
Okay.
right? PAB, where they're giving out these tickets for smoking in the station to these young people. I think it's not clear to a lot of young people that, vaping is a form of smoking. And then you have parents that are having to hear this hearing about, it's something that needs to be addressed.
How can you not be aware that vaping is smoking? That's wild.
Oh,
Well,
no,
it's
because the
teenagers-
vapors, the vape manufacturers have done.
It's not a fire.
Yeah, I know, but
You know
it's,
what I mean?
it's smoke.
You know.
No, they don't care.
They don't care.
It's
They
not
don't
the
care.
same thing.
It's
And
not
it
the same thing.
stinks.
Hang on,
You know, as adults, we get it, right?
Right.
But, you know, as kids, and if they're thinking, it's not a cigarette,
Not a
it's
cigarette.
not smoking.
Andrew, can I just do my new business?
I think Stuart has.
I think you said an interesting thing
Sure.
related to this. We heard from the police about avoiding cars. And driven by videos on Facebook and social media again about new attempts that were successful in hijacking a train that was parked. I shared something with Andrew, though he couldn't view it because he didn't have access to Facebook, but it's something we should follow up with the MTA police. They talked to us about different measures they were contemplating regarding access to cabs.
They're putting new locks.
And not, right, just to follow up on the timetable and the progress with that and how they're, you know, if they see that certain areas in the system are vulnerable, what are they doing? Without giving away their plan,
Right,
you know,
right.
to share with us what they've done.
Andrew, can I just do my new business quick?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
very quick, Chris.
I'm gonna be quick with no interruption. Just to let you know, it should be, you should have gotten Andrew, you know that the or the flushing elevator being replaced. They are doing cross-owning on the Long Island Railroad for reduced fare customers only. So I just want to be very clear, you must have a reduced fare Omni card or Metro card to get on that train going to Grand Central, Penn, Woodside, and Metz Willis Point, period.
Okay.
How would they know? The Omni card doesn't show that it's.
Yes, it does, RS.
Yeah, it has RS on it.
On the back of it, the reduced fare.
Yeah.
Definitely does. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for point of order, Ms. Roberts, with your rule.
When you'll find Thursday?
It's, December 4th.
Oh, and I'll miss it.
There'll be another TRC meeting prior to that,
Yeah.
where I hope to get people on past the FM switch.
That's November.
November 3rd, November, yeah.
20.
Yeah, 20.
I will not be able to.
Oh,
And then PCAC is December 4th.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Anybody needs anything, send me an email.
The December 20th is us,